All right. Hi, everybody. I'm here this afternoon with Vicky Lee of Vicky Lee Acupuncture in Richmond, Virginia. And I'm really excited to have you and to have this little time to chat with you, Vicky.
I'm really excited to be with you too, Stacey.
So I am curious, Vicky, because every acupuncturist and herbalist I know has usually a fascinating story about how they got into acupuncture. So what drew you to acupuncture? Why did you want to become an acupuncturist? Like, tell us your acupuncture origin story.
Okay, well, this is probably about my fourth career. And I was working in everywhere from journalism to graphic design to nonprofits. And then, as with every career change, it seems like I wake up one day with a thought in my head, and this one said, hey, it's time to work with people in the health field. So I thought of a bunch of things. Nursing, speech therapy, acupuncture, and maybe there was something else. But then I called people, I followed people, I really researched the heck out of things. And I think because I had already just gotten so invested in practicing Tai Chi and meditation, it just tipped the scale in that direction. And just reading more about it and the power of it, and also the mystery of it to people who are not in it, drew me. So I just started school in Manhattan, and then I switched after a year to San Diego, same school, PACOM. And then here we are. So my dad also, he also studied acupuncture to get certified. And so it was a little bit in the family to be in the health field.
Oh, that's fun. When were you at PCOM in Manhattan?
Yeah, for people who don't know, that's Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. And I started there in 2009. And just on a lark, I heard a rumor going around school that a couple people were thinking about just transferring for the winter to San Diego. And so I was like, I want in on that because winter in New York is not fun. And then I ended up going with 6 amazing people. We all got a house together. And then once you're in San Diego, you're just sort of like, well, why would I leave? It's such a laid back place to go to school and not having to fight on the subway and all of that. And then I met my husband, and here we are. But now I'm in Richmond, Virginia, because here I am.
Well, it's funny because I actually started at PCOM, New York, and I don't think you knew this. I didn't know this about you. And I had my son in March of 2009.
Out.
Yeah, and then transferred, and I was there. I was there during the spring and the summer and the fall semesters. And then in January of 2010 is when I transferred to Boulder. And that's when we moved out to Colorado, and my husband started at Southwest Acupuncture College, and I finished. I ended up graduating from Southwest Acupuncture College, but I did like 90%. I was one semester away from graduating from PCOM.
That's amazing. We were like ships passing in the night.
Yeah, isn't that fun?
You know what I'm talking about when you're in class and you start hearing like truck drivers yelling at each other outside the window and all of
Yep.
that.
Yep, totally. You're gonna laugh because I actually first checked out the school in San Diego, and I was a programmer in New York for like 8 years, and left the city after burning out from being in the tech industry. And through my story, ended up in San Diego checking out the school, and it was too laid back for me. And so I went to New York for a wedding. And at the wedding, my husband was like, why don't we go to the PCOM New York orientation? And at that point, I was like, no, I'm not going to school. And he's like, come on, let's just try it. And so we went to that orientation. And 2 months later, I was in class in PCOM New York. So that's funny. That's funny that we like totally did the opposite. That's fun.
Yeah.
So your specialty is orthopedics and pain management. How did you get into orthopedics and pain management?
You know, that's a funny story because when I was in school, whenever you were required to take, I think, 2 orthopedic classes and additional classes just for what is it, that the evaluation, like
Mhm.
complaints. And every time those came up, I'd be like, oh my God, like really, that's not my thing. I'm going to be helping like the psycho-spiritual stuff and, all the other stuff. And so I would just cram for the exams and just get through it. And I didn't even bother retaining because, that was like not my jam. But once I started and opened my clinic and started really seeing people, I started realizing that, that's the majority of people that come in because those are the things that prevent them from living their fullest lives. Because literally they're like, I can't golf anymore, which is what brings the men in, right? It's like their golf game suffers and then it's just like, oh my God, whatever it takes. Or gardening, or even like picking up your kids, in your arms. And I was just sort of like, this is really what can impact people. And I learned by taking some additional courses, like you can get results really quickly, And so it just made me so glad when people would just come back and just report to me. It's like, oh my God, you would not believe what I did this weekend for the first time in like 6 months, a year. And they would just light up. And so that was like kind of what fed me to study it more and more. And I've been studying with some of the best people in the field, and there's still a lot more to learn. But yeah, that was my total like turnaround for me, from being like, oh, I'll leave that to other people. And now I'm just like, yeah, this is what I do.
That's awesome. I think that happens to a lot of people. Did you do the herb program at PACOM or the acupuncture only?
I did the herb program, which is why I switched to California as well, because in California, you cannot get an acupuncture license without the herbal component, whereas New York, you could not, and then do it later. But I just wanted to get it all done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So do you do a lot of internal medicine with your pain patients?
I do. And, how long have you been in the business?
I have been in practice. I will have been in practice, actually, 9 years. I've been in practice 9 years.
Okay, so I think 7 for me. So yeah, we do the internal stuff. And so, like, we just love those cases where someone's been handed off from specialist to specialist to specialist. And at the end of the day, maybe no one's been able to help them. So they're put on antidepressants or opioids and kind of sent on their way. And then, these people end up having to research themselves to try to find answers. And that's when a lot of them find acupuncture, or a good friend of theirs is like, you know what, when all hope was lost, I went to an acupuncturist and I got my answer there. And so, it's like such an amazing thing to get someone like that. And then you just treat them a few times and it's just like, oh my God, why didn't I find you like 12 years ago? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So, that's not like every case, but those are the things that just, when we talk about the magic part, and, once you're in practice, you try to dispel that myth, because you're like, listen, guys, it's not magic. It's science,
Yep.
But for people who are not practitioners like us, to them, it seems like miraculous and it seems like magic, And so, who can't love this medicine, really? Right?
Totally. So during the stay-at-home time, what are some of your best tips and pieces of advice for people who are in pain? What are some of the things that they can do at home to help themselves? And are you doing telehealth? Are you open and able to help people like this via Zoom or Skype or or over the phone?
Yeah, so I'm checking in with my patients just once a week at least, and just finding out how they're doing, and if they have any specific issues, I will try to guide them through it, either giving them some acupressure points or some other tools to just calm their anxiety. Um, and just guiding them through that, like self-massage, things like that. So whatever I can do to help, I will. And I have in the works that I'm going to be doing some little video clips that my patients can access, and to help them with their home care. But I'm always for, this is your opportunity to learn how to eat well and cook well, and that's going to help you so much, especially if, say, your pain is, a side effect of diabetes or, other things that you can really help yourself. And this is your opportunity. This is the aha moment where, all of us who have been like, if I only had like a month of free time to like
Mm-hmm.
do this. Well, this is it. That's the silver lining to all this mess is, it's kind of like, be careful what you ask for, but when you're doing that thing, look for the silver lining and, use it to your best advantage.
So people right now are doing a lot of sitting and a lot of Zoom and a lot of computer work. So what are some of your, what do you have, like top 5 tips for how to recuperate or recover from sitting so much?
Yeah. So I teach most of my patients some very simple Qigong exercises, which is, similar to Tai Chi, but you don't have to memorize steps. I encourage people to take breaks, but if they're in a long meeting, I encourage people to set up a standing station, and just, you can march in place. I always fantasize about, hooking a computer to a treadmill, and it won't work unless you're like actually like walking and powering it. Awesome, right?
Right, totally.
Yeah, but just take the breaks, because we're all like, binge watching and, sitting a lot. But then again, I'm so happy to hear when I check in with people, oh, they've been spending a lot of time in the garden. They've been biking
Mhm.
and like doing all this stuff, and it's like a revelation to them. And for those people, they're going to come out of this stronger, you know? So that's the other blessing. I think people are rediscovering what really lights them up when they don't have like a schedule. So, just go with that.
Yeah, I'm curious. Everybody keeps talking about the new normal. And if you had a magic wand and you could create the new normal, how would you create the new normal to optimize health and connection and just, what would you advise your patients, and how would you create that?
I would say, our medicine is all about, we talk about balance, right? There's the yin and the yang. And for people who aren't familiar with that, you could think of it as yang is the active, the go, go, go during the day. We work, and yin is the balance at night. You wind down, you look at the sunset, you like eat meals with your family, and you just take that time to just shed all the things you did during the day. And ideally that is more in perfect balance. But in our culture, you look at the stats, the US, people just work themselves to death, right? Unfortunately, quite literally sometimes. And I think that since the rug was yanked out, where a lot of, you know, that scheduling and meetings and just punching the clock has changed for so many people. Then they're working from home, which in and of itself can be a very yin environment because that's where they know they sleep, they eat, they relax, they socialize. So I think just learning what it is like to have that balance again and just keeping that in mind and remembering that when we go back into, you know,
Mm.
old, I hope actually the new normal is an
Mhm.
improvement normal
Totally.
because I'm being enlightened as to a lot of this.
Yep. I hope so. I hope we have some positives come from this in addition to obviously helping people stay healthy. But it'd be nice to be able to slow down and change things up a little bit. So when in your practice, do you carry topicals? Do you carry any sort of a thing that, like, say, if somebody in your area is having sciatic pain or knee pain or shoulder pain right now, that they could call and that you could offer or help them or mail to them?
Absolutely. In fact, I have a friend named Stacey Donelson. Amazing CBD oils with Chinese herbs, and that's what sets, you know, for
Yeah.
your Stacey.
Yep.
So
This was not planned. I just totally sprung this on Vicky.
for, as an herbalist, that's why my loyalties will go there because, you know, a lot of the CBD topicals that you might get anywhere else, they rely more on like camphor and, you know, all of these like, you know, you might as well just get like the icy hot stuff. Um, so they're more for just kind of masking symptoms or altering the way your brain kind of interprets pain. So yeah, that's some relief, but I believe that the Chinese herbs can actually go in and help correct the issue or to slow down the progression of degenerative issues, right?
Yep.
Like arthritis, like that. Because, you know, so those, I rely on those a lot for people who are in like severe pain or
Mhm.
chronic. For other people who have more recent injuries, there are other topicals. Also, I trust the ones that are made by my herbalist friends. They're based on classical formulas, but they can go in and move, increase circulation, which will bring increase oxygenation,
Mhm.
warm things. I always like tell people to stay away from ice, and we can talk about that another time. But yeah, I carry a few very, very carefully curated topicals, and I only carry what I believe in, and they all have their strengths and their applications. So, especially in this time when they cannot get the acupuncture, it's so important to give them something that can bring them the relief until they can come back in.
Do you have
So,
an
thank you.
example of that? Yeah. Do you have an example of that? Like, do you have a case study that you could share? You can just give like the general overview of a case like that. Like, so somebody can, so say I'm at home right now and I'm, I've just been out in the garden and I've been digging and I've been planting and then I come in and I sit down and have a drink of water and then I go to get up out of my seat and I can't get up out of my seat. Like, do you have
Mhm.
anybody like that or any different kind of like a case that you can kind of show how it works and what people can expect from some of your stuff?
Sure. So I have a client who I was treating for a rotator cuff injury. Actually, no, it's frozen shoulder. Um, so if it's a new issue and it's in the early stages, so I can just do my orthopedic acupuncture thing and just in a couple weeks, you know, they're back to pumping the weight. But this was a more complex issue where this person had been suffering from it for 12 years
Wow.
and was just so scared about, you know, going to the doctor, Western medicine, didn't want to like deal with that or be put on drugs. But then we became friends, and he finally came in to see me. So in a couple treatments, his range of motion was greatly improved, but there's a lot of work to do. And then here comes COVID, and it interrupts our train of progression. But I don't want to go back to ground zero again. So I sent some resources on good just exercises that he could do at home, just loosening that. I taught his son how to do a specific massage to break up tissue. Yeah, so now his son's like earning his keep.
Yep.
But in the you know, a lot of issues with range of motion is not necessarily just mechanical, right? A lot of brain telling you, oh, I don't want you to go there because I'm afraid you're going to make it worse. And so it'll actually stop you. But then we know that that's the case because if I take their arm and I just relax and I can lift his shoulder all the way, but when I tell him to just do it, he's like, that's it. You know, then we know, okay, so some of this is neurological. It's your brain trying to protect you from further harm. So then in walks in like the topicals. So let's say it's one of yours, like the CBD oil, you know, like the deep, like that really penetrates. So I can have him put this on like before he does his exercises. So it really attenuates the pain so that he can actually get to where the exercises are more effective because he's not stopped by the, and then he can just, you know, have better range of motion, and then, you know, it'll work that much better. So that's how we use it.
That's awesome. I love that. And I love how you talk about it's not just mechanical, but it's also the body trying to protect itself. And I have learned that everything, you know, one of my favorite sayings, and I truly believe this, is that everybody is doing the best they can. And that includes the body. Like when you've been injured and you're working through patterns, it's not because your body wants you to be sick. It's because your body, that's the best way that the body knows how to make it work the best. And sometimes you just have to learn new skills, or you have to like kind of like you are helping, like teach new techniques and just open all of that back up and just improve and learn new things. Well, thank that, Vicky. This has been wonderful. I loved all the little connections that we have that I didn't know that we had. That's awesome. And I love how you're helping people in Richmond. I love how you've pivoted, and I love how you're using, because again, people think of orthopedic acupuncture and you have to be there, right? And you don't. You're showing how you can pivot in this time, and you can share your expertise and your love of helping people with connecting with them and teaching the patient to heal themselves, which I think is one of the ultimate forms of our medicine, which we all learn and ultimately want our patients to do. Do you have, and you offer great products and great knowledge, do you have anything else that you want to share with people before we say goodbye?
No, just stay calm. Please get sleep, because I tell all of my patients, sleep is where our bodies literally repair themselves, right? You need that time to recover. And that'll just improve your life so much. And that's something everyone can do, right?
Yeah, especially now. That's awesome. Yeah, sleep and stay calm. I think those are very important things to remind people. Well, thank you, Vicky. And when I release this, we'll have your contact information on the bottom so people know how to reach you in Richmond. And I just really thank you for your time and your attention today.
Thank you for your time, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Yeah.